So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Shailendra Singh. Anybody from Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow here? If you can raise hand. Any of my alumni peer? IIT Delhi? No? Okay. Anybody from Kendriya Vidyalaya? So I'm one amongst you. And you know, one of our peer group, Arnab Goswami, is also a KVite. And you know, I will be the Arnab Goswami of this session. And I will ask all the tough questions to them. The only thing is I will speak less. So I will not emulate completely Arnab. But of course, the questions are coming your way. And I'm sure, you know, they will have some good time and some tough time also, because I am representing each one of you here, and will also represent the industry here, how the application is going to be done, what are the expectations from the industry side, and what we expect each of the technology partners to deliver in terms of the technology focus, especially in terms of the new age technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning. We will also cover the application of AR, VR, the digital mapping of the whole infrastructure, the remote applications and control, the new age SCADA technologies. And I would also like to cover part of 3D printing, additive manufacturing in my questions, besides, of course, the cyber security. And we will keep the session absolutely practical, industry-oriented, and example-focused. So we will keep some rules for the game. The rules will be, I will come to each one of you asking one question, and the next question will be picked up from your answer itself. So let us see how the session goes. And it depends on you how you answer. And the next question is going to be the tougher one, because we will go a deep insight into what you are going to answer. So are we ready? Especially the KV guys? Okay. So we have I think 35 minutes now available with us. How much time? I would like to close exactly on time. Somebody would like to clarify how much time do we have? 30 minutes? So we will close in next 30 minutes, absolutely. This is 12:13, and we should close by 43 or at max 45. So my first question, I would ask Mr. Govil. So Mr. Govil, can you share an example of application of additive manufacturing in industry? Any practical example you would like to share? And I would be really happy to know if there were any failures and what were the learnings.
I think, am I audible? Yeah. So we've done some pilots, so to say, but as a mainstream, in the mainstream production lines, we haven't tried it yet. But what I want to clearly highlight is what we've, the area which was focused by our team was that for certain equipments which are high capex intensive, spares availability becomes an issue, because sometimes you would find the OEMs, they go out of business, or they may choose some other, or introduce some new products, because of which you face obsolescence in those equipments. And in such situations, you figure out that spares availability it becomes very critical. And because of which there is a situation wherein you will have to let go of the machine itself. And because of the capex involvement, we all, as manufacturers, as Indian owners, we want to sweat the assets. We want to extract maximum from the existing installations. So we've worked on these scenarios wherein how do we make, maybe it could be O-rings, it could be small set of spares, which could potentially replace the OEM spares which were not available, so to say. So that was one use case. Second is, I also want to highlight on in terms of use of these technologies. You spoke about artificial intelligence. I'll just take a 30-second block that till so far, we always thought artificial intelligence is something which is from the Star Trek era. But come November 22, starting November 22, everybody, inside enterprises and outside, they have started realizing that this can do much more actually. And this is being talked about, and I was just reading an article sometime back that in the history of humanity, this is ChatGPT and the likes has become the highest, has attracted highest attention ever since we've started talking about technology. Yeah.
So thank you. So Sharad, I will come to you now. Would you like to share an example of application of blockchain technologies in manufacturing, and any use case you would like to share? And any bottlenecks you faced, challenges you faced, and how you came across those?
All right, thank you. In terms of specifically blockchain, as you know, Hitachi has versatile different segments. Typically, when we select any particular technology, we take it at 3 levels. One, how it is solving the business objective, number one. Number two, within that business objective, which functions are contributing and what is the bottleneck. And that's how we derive a list of technology, first of all. Then, as you can appreciate that having a limited number of resources, we cannot train everybody on everything. That is when it comes to prioritize, when we analyze that these are different business, for example, rail, lifts, energy, infra, and we create a common list of technology because we have to train them, and we want it to be a longer, medium and long term, not a short term. So we cannot spread ourselves across different technology. So that's the process of selection of the right technology. When it comes to blockchain, what comes to my mind, there are 2 applications. One especially related to our infrastructure business, wherein we are using it for smart contracts because they are asset-heavy industry. That is one. Second, we are working with the help of HIL R&D team, which has some 100+ AI experts, which we have developed in last 3.5 years. We are building a digital circular economy platform because the whole world and industry is struggling to maintain the information about the carbon emission and exchange of carbon credits and all. We feel that this is going to be a big struggle going forward. Even if a company is planning to adopt circular economy, they do not have the right systems in place. So with the help of our America team and India team, we are building a digital circular economy platform which will soon be open for a common industry, starting from 3 verticals. Very soon you will be seeing us launching that. These are the two immediate use cases.
So very interesting example related to contracts. So I think each one of us, we face this challenge in terms of the contracts and how it needs to be executed. Sometimes the contracts will expire and the team wouldn't even come to know. They will come at the last week for renewal of contracts. Like this, there are major issues and then both sides face challenges. So would you like to share an example, share the challenges you faced in this particular aspect, and how were you able to bring along the various stakeholders, especially the various contract the agencies involved into this on the same platform for the blockchain project?
I think the operational issues which we faced in the beginning, I think 50-60% of that is resolved, is the data quality issues. Especially it comes when there are some partners which are not technologically matured enough to communicate. So for example, you must have seen some of the regulations coming every now and then in terms of what we can really import versus what we cannot. And in fact, recently also Government of India has listed few items, or even if non-critical, even some fasteners. For example, in our rail manufacturing, when we work on rolling stock and signaling, especially for rolling stock, when it is a moving part, then even a fastener which is applied on a critical juncture, is very important. So there are some regulations coming from government, and we have to have alternate sources for those critical components. So sometimes we have to go for leaving large suppliers, or also go for small suppliers. When they do not have the technology maturity, it becomes a problem. So these are the initial hiccups which we face to establish such kind of contracts.
So especially now Arnab coming back, so especially when you talk about the rolling stock, how did you handle the RDSO Lucknow?
That's very particular question. Maybe we can take it offline.
Okay, good. So Himanshu, I will come to you now. So Himanshu, would you like to share an example of AR and VR in manufacturing setup, and an example where you would like to share how it was applied, what went well, and what did not work?
Okay, I can give you an example of our industry. Most of you know that we build machines and equipments. So we use VR and AR both in the process in pre-manufacturing stage. So what and why we started doing this is virtual reality. I'll explain first, because when my designers, the mechanical designers, design a machine, they design in a 3D environment using Dassault, CATIA, Delmia, Autodesk, whatever. But when they present to my customers, it is a 2D PowerPoint. Now that for me is a step down. You design in 3D and you present in 2D first. Second issue is the designer is going to show to a customer what he or she feels is important. मुझे लगता है ये मेरा टेबल है, आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि इस पे ग्लास कितना थिकनेस का है. Now think of the customer. He is least interested in the thickness of the glass. He wants to know what is the height of the table. And now if most of us here, we ask everyone over here, please tell us in millimeters what is the height of this table. There is going to be a variation. Somebody might say 400, 450, 350, 600. Everyone has a perspective of the height. Does it really matter that we define a millimeter number, or we want the end user to come and experience in virtual reality what is the actual useful height? So what we do is we now take the 3D design machine line into virtual reality, call the operator who is going to work on that table and tell him, भैया आपको ये अच्छा लग रहा है? How is it that you feel about this height? Is it accessible to you? Is something that you would like to see in your future workspace missing in this? These are the examples which we have got phenomenal feedback from the end user. That's the operator who's using it. The second category comes, now the user of the table is least interested. If you think of a machine, he is least interested in how the maintenance is going to be done. He is a user. So now next, instead of now my designer thinking of what is important for maintenance, I get my customer's maintenance team to analyze the machine in virtual reality. Can he, for example, access the motor, the bearing, and is he able to do the maintenance before the machine is manufactured in virtual world?
Now hold on. So many times I see industry people talking about that you have taught us to handle this machine in virtual reality. But I don't know how to open it up with my own hand. So how to handle that?
There is dynamic VR. You can actually dismantle the whole machine in virtual reality. The only thing you don't get is a feedback of the force. But actually you can pick up a spanner, a Allen key, and dismantle a machine in virtual reality, take the motor out. The weight and the force is something which you will never get. As of now, at least technology, I don't know if has gone where you can wear probably some gloves and simulate the weight. But at this point, we can dismantle the whole machine in virtual reality. We can build a machine, we can build a component, analyze cycle time, ergonomic issues. In fact, even to an extent, I can now tell if I work on this machine in virtual world for 4 hours, I can simulate that in 4 minutes. I can tell you, okay, in 4 hours, I would have this much fatigue. So even fatigue analysis is done in virtual reality.
So this brings me to my next question. This means that it is possible for many small-scale industry who are scattered all across the country to get their machines repaired in using AR and VR in real-time basis? Is it possible or not? Or if it is possible, if it is not possible today, what do you think would be the timeline in coming years by when it may become possible?
So machine maintenance using AR is already there. The only limiting factor is our network. In places where you are remote, you might not have network to access an expert who will guide you on augmented reality, how to do a machine maintenance. If you don't have network, you are stuck. So if you have network, already augmented reality is solving problems. And our team is connecting from Gendamark to guys in Thailand, in Indonesia, in India as well, in Chennai, Coimbatore, and telling the guys, just come on with our AR app on your smartphone, show us the problem, and we are able to pinpoint and guide them using AR, or what we call as mixed reality. So we are able to superimpose a E-plan on the actual control panel and tell him this section over here through our phone, when you see is a problem, please replace this. So that's already, in my opinion, in existing, and it's been in use.
Okay, so I will come to Himanshu with a follow-up question on this. Taking cue forward from what Rajesh was saying, Himanshu, I met. Sorry, Rajesh. So, Rajesh, I met the founder of Fool.co lately, about a week back, and what they do is they recycle the flower waste from the various temples. It's a IIT Kanpur startup and a few years old now, and they recycle it to make, for example, packaging material for the industry, or they make various products out of it. So they recycle the waste of flower which is flown into the rivers or ponds from the various temples or religious places across the country and recycle it. Now the point is, for doing this, they have worked out certain machines. These machines were originally compressor machines using the baling by Siemens and some other people. Occasionally they face the challenges of maintenance issues because a small company scattered across the country, and they have to do it very near the temple, and if they are not able to recycle and use the machines on that day, those flowers are gone because it will get rotten up. Now my question to you is, taking a cue from him that AR, VR can be used to repair such type of machines in real-time basis, how do you think it spans out for small-scale industry and medium-scale industry who do not have a dedicated maintenance manpower available? So what are your initial thoughts on this?
Okay, this is a question out of my syllabus, for the matter. Fortunately, I come from IT background, who has served the manufacturing industry for almost 5 years, but oil and gas for almost 10 years. Luckily, in my previous company, the ThyssenKrupp AG, I was a regional CIO based out of India, and we had so many entities, almost 13. One of them happened to be ThyssenKrupp Elevators, which is mostly known in that business. And fortunately, we had the implementation. I think Himanshu just talked about it. The AR, VRs using HoloLens, wherein as long as your end device is IoT or smart in nature, you can gain access to it and provide all the remote services that you want to do it. And this is practically, that was something that we actually delivered to the customers, wherein from a remote location or anywhere, a highly skilled person of that competence could remotely connect into any of these devices, do a VR review and inspection, and actually order a part. Something that was not possible but had been triggered elsewhere in the Western world was actually also delivering the spare directly at the client location without actually having someone to carry it. Right? So something that should also happen in India, maybe through the logistics that we have today, the use of drones, we should come in some time wherein for any kind of, I would say, critical systems, you could actually have the inspection done remotely. You could have the unlocking and locking of the entire system done remotely, whilst any kind of spare delivered through these systems, the logistics systems that are now being tested out and are being actually used by many of these players, including I was recently looking at McDonald's, using devices which allow people to fly, right? Delivering pizzas remotely and to any other location. And I suppose the same has been actually implemented and is available even in India.
So very good input. So what you are trying to convey is that at the end of the day, there would be a solution available for small scale industry and medium scale industry in coming years or coming months where such type of repair would be possible. In fact, I have seen it happening. There are few companies who are doing it. We are reviewing some of the startups in the TI where such type of accelerated programs, even for my company where we support some of the accelerated startups, we are supporting like this. So those type of technologies are expected to come, and I'm sure that will take root in coming years. But if I see a real application, I saw that in a joint collaboration by IIT Delhi and All India Institute of Medical Science Delhi, where they collaborated on certain technologies for like this, by which they are able to do some advanced surgical operations using robotic online tools from anywhere in the world, in any hospital across. So those things are being tried out. So if such type of intricate work can be done, I'm pretty sure such type of maintenance work would also be done. So very good input. But that brings me to All India Institute of Medical Science and few such top institutes who face the challenge of cyber attack and cyber security in the context. And we see that in manufacturing and across the value chain, we face this issue of cyber security. And I understand that you have a long background in this area. So what are your initial thoughts on cyber security, and how do you think these challenges will be met in India?
Okay, thank you. You put it right. I have had some background in information security as such. What I see happening, then we give you some insights to a background. Manufacturing setup, traditional, not exposed to internet as such. It's a crown jewel you want to protect. But suddenly someone like many of us in here advise our companies to move into the cloud, get all of these benefits that accrue from, say, AI or ARs and VRs, which necessitate that you have to have an interconnect between the IT and OT. So cyber security as such has been mostly IT dominant, with IT leading that engagement, right? And they are trained to kind of respond well, keep a track of what's happening in the world, using intelligence across from various players, determining what is coming through, which could be a potential risk to us, and trying to keep it away. But yes, while that is going to happen, and it is likely to happen, what is important is also at the same point in time having an incident response system in place so that it can kind of reduce the impact. And at the same time, the OT part of it, which is our manufacturing plants as such, which are now infused to integrate into and align with the integration with the IT part of it as such, the people managing that aspect of the plant are ideally not IT trained, IT sensitive. These are people who are managing maybe the MES, the distributed control systems, which now are a part of the entire engagement and suddenly are exposed to, say, the potential threats from internet connectivity, right?
So the people sitting out here, they are of course thinking in their mind that when we go to the shop floor, industry shop floor, the team is working with various robots, and they are using their pen drives, they are downloading the data. And here you are talking about that we keep the integrated system data into cloud. And the company is very susceptible if all the data goes to cloud, even for example, then with the new age technologies like AI. How do we ensure the sanctity of that data and whether that data will remain with us? What are your thoughts about it?
Okay, so there are various technologies. It's like when I leave my place or my residence for the office, I have to commute, right? So there's a potential risk in everything that we do. So the moment you start adapting the cloud technologies, you need to also be aware of the risks around it, right? And there are frameworks around available that you can potentially ask your cloud provider to offer and subscribe to. Many of them already offer it, like global certifications or standards like ISO 20001. If it's a payment gateway, they have to have a PCI DSS compliance, which gives you an assurance that the company or the host provider is doing enough, right, to be in a position to give you that assurance that whatever you place there in the system, whether it is data in the cloud or in transit, all of it is encrypted to a specific level and it is secure, right? As long as this is being met as a basic framework, it should not be a worry. But you also still have to use your threat intelligence, because every time you want to, and if by any chance you have systems which are not patched, these are the real causes of actually exposing your vulnerabilities to the outside world. So as long as you are protecting both your internal and external world, you can surely reduce and benefit from what is being offered to you.
So would you like to share an example where it has happened and how it was handled?
Well, I don't want to name the company, but yes, it happens every now and then. Many of the audiences out here would already be aware of incidents that have happened. There are many times even state-sponsored, I would say, I should not really give it a real word, but yes, scenarios wherein there could be potential exploits. And it has happened to even get your plants out of a, it could be your competitors, it can be an individual, and it can be your hackers as well who attempt to do that.
So I will come to Mr. Govil on this. So, because you are handling transformation also, I'm sure similar type of challenges are being faced at your organization also and the industry per se. So how do you see this aspect of keeping the data on cloud, and when you work out a transformation either in SAP or some other measures, how do we ensure that this transformation is seamless?
No, actually, if you were to see 7, 8 years, 10 years back, cloud was considered that whether or not we need to move to the cloud, and is there a business case to move to the cloud? And cybersecurity was one of the major concerns at that point of time. But today, as we speak, most organizations of our size and maybe of lesser size or bigger ones, they have cybersecurity solutions which are deployed on the cloud. So suppose you have an endpoint protection system that's hosted on the cloud. Of course, you've got agents on respective machines. So the whole order has changed in the subsequent years. And now as we speak, there are multiple of these SaaS offerings in which you can experiment, you can try out these offerings, whether it works to your advantage or to your business advantage. You perhaps maybe out of 10 such experiments, there may be 3 in which you succeed, 7 in which you fail. But you don't get penalized severely because of the failures, which was the case earlier. Because earlier, for you to do experiments or trials on these new age technologies, you had to put up your servers in your data centers, compute, storage, whatever, and all that cybersecurity aspects had to be factored. But today, you have these niche offerings, special products which are available. It could be for data analytics. It could be for driving artificial intelligence, doing predictive maintenance. All of that is available. And today, as we speak, I give you one example. We also spoke about examples here. So we are doing one specific use case, which I want to highlight, is on energy monitoring. Okay. So what we have done is we have connected more than 100 plus equipments, which are either high energy generators or consumers within the plant premise. And we are monitoring not just the energy consumption, we are also monitoring specific energy consumption. We are also monitoring any imbalances in their voltage current profiles, which is an indicative of their health also, indirect health. Indirectly, it's a proxy for their health of the equipment also. And this is what we are doing it on cloud, because if we were to set up the computational environment on-prem, it will be prohibitive in terms of basically acquiring it and then also maintaining it. And here also we have a choice that today if there is after 2 years, if we realize that we don't have to continue it further, we just have, because it's a subscription model. So you pay as you use. So in that sense of the world, you can very well let go of that.
Okay, so I think we are in the last 6 minutes, so let me involve the audience now. And so I will give a case study here. So, and I will allow the audience to ask some tough questions along with me. So the case study is like this. I will like the audience to ask questions around this case study so that it becomes interesting. So case study goes like this, is that there is a company called Wabatech, which is a recruitment platform, completely technology focused. So they have a AI ML based system by which every person who comes to their platform, A+ category institutes only IITs, IIMs, and they would be interviewed, and each one will be analyzed using AI VR platform. Every person is interviewed, and that interview is analyzed using on Ocean Trades, and the company knows whether this person fits into the profile or not, and they allow only international recruitment, $100,000 and plus only. Only A+ institutes, only top category. Now, with this background, I would like you to ask questions to the panel here, keeping this reference in mind about this company, what type of challenges this company may face, how do you see the integration or similarity in your own context, and then what could be the possible solutions? Anybody who wants to volunteer? You please just share your name and question, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. I am Anil Bhatia, and thanks, Mr. Singh, for your engaging session. The context which you have given, right, it is related to the recruitment company, right? So my question is related to that and holistic also. The question is related to credibility of data, right? Because we are talking about digitalization industry 4.0, 5.0, any name you can give, we are talking about data, we are playing with the data, right? The more the data, the more would be the sanctity. So the question is revolving around the credibility of data. And why I am asking this question, I will just give you a background, because
So if you can keep the question.
I will. Because there are various stages where we can lose the sanctity of data, including IoTs, edge devices, and particularly predictive analytics, which is AI driven, right? So somebody has written that algorithm.
So how to maintain the sanctity of the
Yes, and how to cross-check that it is a credible data, because actionable insights are depending on that only.
Right. So let us keep questions small and crisp. So okay, who would like to answer that? Go ahead, Mr. Pandit. Crisp answer, please.
See, for any AI solution to implement, you need to have data, right? And most of the times, as we say, even in our personal lives, we are biased to one side or the other. However, the intent of all of these algorithms, which have been evolved over the years, the intent is to get that bias out of the system, right? The ultimate objective is to derive perspectives and insights from the data. You will always have biases, whether in an AI system or we as a human, you cannot take it off. But yes, while you enhance and improve the productivity or the outputs from the system, the more you feed the data into the AI solution, and you have various statistical algorithms available, wherein you are able to determine and predict as to what is the bias in the software or the algorithm itself. It is developed by us. The basic algorithm is given by us, but ultimately the system learns on its own, unlearns on its own, while we as humans essentially may actually unlearn as well. The system never unlearns. So it keeps on learning and keeps on improving on its own. So there is an intent, and the systems will automatically reduce the biases that you expect or that you indicate in here. And when you talk about the integrator solution...
So I think you have answered the question to a large extent. Let us go to the next question.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Very good context. Myself, Anil Pathak from Harman. So the question is this: since a lot of data is being used, AI, ML, how do we ensure the privacy of the data? The candidate has an option to delete it. Thank you.
So privacy of data. Sharad, you want to take that? Sharad? Or anybody else? Mr. Govil? Okay, Mr. Govil, please.
I think data privacy is becoming a serious concerns. We've seen GDPRs of the world already in Europe, and we are now seeing a GDPR, a lookalike GDPR, with data privacy bill being launched in India also. So what we clearly see is, of course, you need to have explicit consent from individuals with whom you get the data, because in a recruitment setup, you would have credentials, you will have maybe passport details or other details, Aadhaar details also perhaps. So all of that, and then of course, you have to make sure that your systems which are there, you put data leakage preventions, controls are there, encryptions are in place, so that, of course, there is no data breach which is there. So from a cybersecurity standpoint, and also from an access control, authorization controls, you make to have maybe multi-factor authentications in place. So multiple controls today are in place to make sure that breaches can well be avoided. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. I think we are all done with time. We should never cross the time limit. 45, we will close. So thank you for good questions. I think two of you from the audience. Great sessions with all of you. Challenges remain. So all the best. Have a great day. Thank you.